For the past few days, Africa has emerged as the beautiful bride for global economic relations. From the US to Russia and then Saudi Arabia, forging economic ties with continents has become attractive. Now, the 2023 Saudi Africa Economic Summit is underway, where many investment alliances will be formed. We'll beam such light on this forum at this episode of Africa Weekly. I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to the program. It was another bountiful harvest for Nigeria as the African Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development hinted that they have voted $1 billion to further deliver special agro-industrial processing zones in 24 more states in Nigeria. Now, this is in addition to an initial $520 million voted by the development partners for the development of 8 special agro-industrial processing zones in Nigeria. And the president of African Development Bank Group, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, disclosed this at the Norman Borlaug International Dialogue World Food Prize 2023 in Des Moines, Iowa, United States of America.
The Dakar 2 summit to the World Food Prize in Des Moines, Dr. Adesina noted that the decision to pump such huge funds into Nigeria's agribusiness was part of the resolve to develop the special agro-industrial processing zones in 13 countries to support the development of agricultural value chains, food processing and value addition, enabling infrastructure and logistics to promote local, regional, and international trade in food.
The African Development Bank's flagship program, called Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation, or simply put, TAAT, has brought together the International Agricultural Research Centers of the CGIAR, national and regional research centers, seed and fertilizer companies, and agribusinesses to deliver climate-resilient agricultural technologies at scale.
Describing the 2023 Norman Borlaug International Dialogue World Food Prize as a journey of combining the power of science, technology, policies, and politics to ensure Africa fully unlocks its agricultural potentials and feeds itself with pride. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who spoke on the Tinubu administration's initiative for food security, said the quality of present leadership in Nigeria and the rest of Africa will drive transformation in agriculture and other sectors.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a quintessential 21st century modern African leader who is determined to redefine the meaning and concept of modern leadership. SAPZ is an industrial policy framework and also a policy aimed at the structural repositioning of the Nigerian economy. It's going to be a game changer. And we have that moral obligation to see that all bottlenecks are eliminated, to see that Africa takes its rightful place.
Government will create special agro-industrial processing zones development authority that will operate like a one-stop shop where regulatory and associated issues will be addressed.
President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria will be joined by other African leaders at Riyadh for the Saudi Africa Summit. The president will underscore Nigeria's commitment to attracting more foreign direct investment and expanding business partnership, which are strongly reinforced by his administration's ongoing domestic economic reforms. Discussions at the first Saudi Africa Summit will evolve around supporting joint action, enhancing political coordination, addressing regional security threats, and facilitating economic transformation through research and the local development of new energy solutions, all while bolstering across sectoral investment cooperation. Joining us now via Zoom from Marrakesh, Morocco, is Professor Oyelaran Oyebanji, the special advisor to the AFDB president on industrialization. I want to say, Prof, thank you so much for finding time to talk to us all the way from Marrakesh, Morocco.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Glad to join you.
All right. You know, the president some time ago announced in New York that it will be injecting about $2 billion into the special agro-processing zone. Can you take us through that? What exactly does this mean?
No, thank you very much. We see the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone as a transformative project, as a structurally transforming project. And the President, Dr. Adesina, has done almost everything to ensure that we, put together all the partners that are available to fund the SAPZ. At the meeting in Des Moines, during the World Food Prize recently in Iowa, with the Vice President of Nigeria, H.E. Shetima, with the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, all of them were present. We have a fantastic meeting devoted exclusively to the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone. And I believe that was where the Dr. Adesina mentioned this particular figure. And it is true. As you know, we have been on the journey for the Nigerian project since 2019. We concluded the first phase, which includes 7 states and FCT, where we have raised about $520 million. We onboarded another 23 states recently in September 7. Those ones are going to be, it's a massive, massive undertaking, because our vision is that every state in Nigeria should have a special agro-industrial processing zone. The president announced that Nigeria alone will be trying to raise funding of $1 billion. But I must tell you that yesterday, here in Marrakesh, we launched something called the Alliance for SAPZ, Alliance for Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones, in which had several partners, including Afri-Exim, Islamic Development Bank, UNIDO, ICD, and several others who will be joining us as founding members. At that meeting yesterday night, I'm happy to announce to you that all these partners with the AFDB made a commitment of $3 billion to fund SAPZs all over Africa. So this is truly a critical juncture for this. And I really want to thank all of those partners for this $3 billion. And we believe that we can even go higher. Okay,
now, Prof, $3 billion is huge, investments, in this regard. But if you begin to look at the SAPZ, program in Nigeria, can you give us your evaluation of how this is going in Nigeria, given what you have just talked about, the $3 billion investment that is coming in?
Yeah, so this total amount is for all of Africa, as you can imagine. And I believe that this could be just a catalytic seed funding, where you do big things, and when you bring up good ideas to the table, more money will follow. In the Nigerian case, as I told you, we have approved now, we fulfill what we call all the condition precedents for all the first 8 states. So what remains now is simply a few more moves for us to see constructions on site in all of these states: Kaduna, Kano, FCT, Kwara, Ogun, and Oyo State, and Igbo and Cross River State. Those are the first 8 sites that we have now. And all that remains now is in the hands of all the governors and all those who are involved to make sure that we provide leadership to move these things as fast as possible. The bank and its partners have done everything possible to move up to this stage. And I must thank the Vice President's office and the presidency for putting their, weight behind this. They have shown great commitment to make sure that we get to where we are, and now it's time for us to move forward. So, apart from these eight sites that we have, as I said, we've had over the last 2 years expression of interest from 23 states. And on September 7, we onboarded them. We call it onboarding. And then the process now will start. Basically, the teams will go to the states to verify the size, to verify the commitments, the commodities that were promised. Is a process. So that hopefully by Q2 of next year, we'll begin to see action on these new states. So that's where we are now.
Okay, now, Prof, so where we are is quite encouraging, but I'd like to ask, you are there attending the summit there in Marrakesh, there, but what specific areas from your conversation, from the interaction that you've had, what area of concern do you think African countries should be looking towards, leveraging, the opportunities this has provided for better food security for Nigeria and the entire Africa as a whole?
No, thank you, Kevin. All of these movements, particularly this year, started in Dakar, 23, 25 of January, when we did the Feed Africa project, as you might be aware. Again, this was led by the FDB and the AU. And at that meeting, all of the African countries committed to a compact, agriculture and food security compact. They signed up on this to ensure that Africa becomes food secure in the next 4 or 5 years. That's number one. And I believe this is possible. As we speak to you, I'm sure you've seen in the news in Nigeria now, part of the funding from AIDB is helping towards getting up to 50, 60, 70,000 hectares of wheat this year and other grains. And that's the beginning of the food security initiative that we talked about. So from that period in January up till now, the bank has raised $72 billion. I'm sure you hear it in the news from what the traditional announced yesterday, $72 billion for all of the African countries. But at the end of the day, it behoves the individual countries, it behoves the individual principals in those countries to now make the move, to now champion all of this. How we end up, what the outcome becomes, is actually now at the behest of those countries. And I must tell you that, fundamentally, 2-3 things that all of this do. One is food security. It's a shame that Africa should be importing food, whether processed or unprocessed. People will tell you, cashew, coffee, cocoa. We get a poultry almost 10% from all of this. $450 billion coffee from all of developing countries. All they get is 25 billion.
Wow.
Everything ends up in those who process, who do all the processing and packaging. So we need to stop that. Second, and that's why the SAPC becomes extremely very important, is a value-adding structural transformation initiative that moves us from being an agrarian society into being a modern industrial society. Number two is that it stems rural-urban migration. It ensures that instead of people rushing to Ibadan, Lagos, and Kaduna, the primate cities, they stay where they are in the secondary city. And by the way, those secondary cities, that is the cities after the capital, if you look at the demography and the urbanization trend, they are the fastest growing areas. And they are potentially going to become the most dynamic zones of prosperity. And this is why we are locating the SAPCs within what we call those peri-urban areas, those areas between the capital and the secondary cities. It is a deliberate industrial strategy tool for us that we are doing this. It's harder, but it's better and sustainable in the long run. Sustainable industrial growth is hard, but it has to be done. We have to build sustainable farms where you have high yields. We have to build factories. So people call it from the farm to the fork and to the factories. So this is the major reason why we are doing this, to ensure that in the next 10 years, Africa is not being described again and again as some sort of an agrarian society. 80% of people are living on subsistence farming. This is the transformation that we seek.
All right.
This is where we believe we can get to. And with good leadership and strong focus, I'm very sure that in 5 years, we can transform our country.
Well, Professor Oyebanji, I want to say thank you very much for finding time to talk to us on the progress being made on ASPZ, and wish you all the best in your summit right there in Marrakesh, Morocco. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Now, 36 Nigerians, including children, have returned home non-voluntarily from Sweden. The National Commission for Refugee, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, in collaboration with a non-governmental organization, received them at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja.
Their situation and an unpleasant time for these returnees who are back home from Sweden. After several attempts given to these returnees by the Swedish government for them to return home, which was futile, it was time to return non-voluntarily.
There's a new law in Sweden that says that if you work, even if you have work permits and you don't earn up to certain amount of money, your employer does not pay you certain amount of money, you are not allowed to stay. So you can come in for meager jobs, They ask you to leave. You don't have any reason to stay.
After proper documentation of the returnees, relief items were provided by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, with cash assistance of 158,000 naira to each returnee from the Swedish government. The Commission also gave assurances on necessary steps to be taken to provide livelihood support.
And we have profiled them, we have also identified those who are vulnerable, and so we have shelter. In addition to taking them to the hotel today and understanding what the real issues are, we also, counseling for them to now, accept the fact that they are back home and they have opportunity to start their lives.
The returnees declined interviews from the press as they were not pleased with their present circumstances, as they await what fate has in stock for them, not sure of what the future holds from this moment after building a life far away from home. But like the popular saying, no place like home, and they pray, let the home truly be home.
Now, more African countries are making entry for African visa-free. The latest is Rwanda, after President Paul Kagame announced that entry by all Africans into Rwanda is henceforth visa-free.
Rwandan President Paul Kagame announced the abolition of visa requirements for all Africans willing to visit Rwanda. President Kagame spoke in Kigali, where he pitched the potential of Africa as a unified tourism destination. For a continent that still relies on 60% of its tourism from outside Africa, according to data from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. He said any African can get on a plane to Rwanda whenever they wish, and they will not pay a thing to gain entry into the country. He says Africa should not lose sight of the continental market, which is that Africans are the future of global tourism, as its middle class will continue to grow at a fast pace in decades to come. Other countries that are visa requirement free for all Africans include the Gambia, Benin Republic, and Seychelles. Similarly, owing to Pan-African movement in relation to Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, Kenya has also announced visa-free requirements into its country for all Africans.
We are now moving in the direction of eliminating visas amongst ourselves. Let me say this. As Kenya, by the end of this year, no African will be required to have a visa to come to Kenya.
In this regard, experts believe economy and business will triumph in all parts of the continent and beyond going forward.
The 6th African-wide Agricultural Extension Week holding in Abuja, Nigeria is being used by extension experts to work out modalities at reincorporating agri-extension services into the national food security agenda across countries in Africa, with a special focus on harnessing agricultural extension and advisory services in scaling regenerative agriculture and nature-based solutions for food systems transformation in Africa. We now bring you an excerpt from our conversation with the chairman of the board of AFAS, Dr. Fach from Malawi.
Practitioners and professionals in agricultural extension and advisory services meet to discuss issues affecting agricultural extension in Africa and also to strategize on improving the profession of agricultural extension to influence policies and practice of agricultural extension as a way of improving agriculture in Africa to address the many challenges that affect agriculture, including climate change, land degradation, market failures, and the like.
So now you have identified those challenges.
Yeah.
Already. What is the resolution? Can we know what this, at the end of this event, what will be decided?
So what has happened here is that we have seen various technologies being promoted, mostly under the areas of regenerative agriculture and nature-based solutions, because a lot of the solutions that we've been having have been very costly to the African continent, imported technologies and the like. Yet we have other easier ways of addressing the problems that are there. So those kinds of technologies have been promoted under agroecology, for example, minimal use of external inputs and the like. But apart from that, we have also had discussions on approaches that bring people together to even identify even more technologies on the ground, such as farmer field schools and the like. We have also promoted digital extension as a way of bringing together information that addresses the problem, because we cannot discuss all the solutions, all the content here, but at least approaches to solving the problems. That's what matters the most. And again, another very important thing that has happened here is that we have seen a lot of partnerships created here. A lot of times research and extension have been working separately, but through this conference we have seen the Forum for Agricultural Advisory, Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, FARA, and then the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, AFAS, and then the Regional Forum for Universities in Africa, RUFORUM, coming together, meaning that from now on there will be a faster movement of technologies from research to the farming communities and even to the universities. Thereby we are going to solve the problems much, much faster.
That's our package this week. Thanks for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha. Thanks for watching.